Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of Proline Daily, the longest-running sports handicapping show in America, coming to you direct from beautiful Las Vegas. NBA night off for everybody, but we'll talk a little NBA anyway. And we've got baseball. We're going to look at one of the matchups on tonight's board. A lot of good stuff happening. Jim, you got a baseball three-pack going tonight for $29.
I'm pretty excited about that, Dave. Got three nice plays. Baseball season's been, it's a long season, and there's a lot of games, 162 games apiece, and you're going to have your ups and downs, but it's about grinding out a profit, and that's what we're all about here, grinding out a profit. We're not recreational bettors. We're bettors that try to make a living doing this, and we're pretty successful to doing that. I got a three-pack tonight, $29.
So we have NBA Finals odds out for Game 1, Jim. And, obviously they're assuming that Cleveland's going to win this series, which makes sense. And they've got the Warriors -8 with a total of 226 on the projected opening game between Golden State and Cleveland.
Yeah, Dave, it is up to 8. And the reason for that is Cleveland's had to extend themselves a little bit more. They got down yesterday, came back, won that game pretty easily in the second half. Remarkable turnarounds in these games. Been interrupted here by my...
Is that Zeus or Zane?
That's Zane, and he's driving me crazy.
Well, maybe he's upset with the way the Celtics performed in the fourth quarter.
Well, that's very possible. This series price that's up now for the Warriors over Cleveland is it opened 5 and it's up to 8 now. Well, why do that? What is the potential when Cleveland has to play extra games? The potential is fatigue, and then also the injury possibilities. And so you can't stay focused when this guy's doing this, but it's just one of the hazards of having dogs work with you. Anyway, that's the situation. So it's up from 5 to 8, and the series price is $290.
Yeah, I don't, and that's wild. We talked with, we had one of the Westgate odds makers on the show yesterday, and they were thinking more like -180 or -200. Because at that price, they're going to get a ton of action on Cleveland money line. I think they'll end up having a big liability if that price holds, and that's not up everywhere. A lot of places don't have the series up yet. But if that price holds, those books will have a big liability in the series. Doesn't mean, look, it might work out really well for them if Golden State wins, but they're going to get a lot of Cleveland action at that price.
Let's take a look at the just handicapping. Let's say they win game 5 at Boston on Thursday, and they're a 10-point favorite in that game. I guess we should actually talk a little bit about that. That's a game that opened up much lower, and that price was 8. It's up to 10. I don't see any 10.5s. The total is 214.5 or 215.5, so it's in that range. And of course, like I said, Golden State opened 5 over Cleveland and 226, and it's, well, actually, right now I'm looking at 7. I'm not looking at 8. It is only 7 right now. So there's been a little buyback on that 8, Dave. 7 -15 at one spot, 7 flat in another, or -110, I should say. So it's gone up to 7. So that's not a terrible price. Here's what you got here in this situation. You have the tremendous revenge of the Warriors blowing a 3-1 lead last year in the playoffs and losing the championship because of that. So now they're going to be rested. So it's going to be rather rested or rusty. The rested has been working better than the rusty so far this year. And that's I think that's what people are looking at. I would never make this price. I'd make it the 5. I think the 5 is the right line, except that Cleveland had to extend themselves another trip up to Boston to play another game against the a team that's going to play hard for a while in that game at least, and then of course they're going to have to travel out to San Francisco to play or actually Oakland to play the Golden State Warriors. So that's a little bit of the price adjustment from the 5 to the 7.
Yeah, I'm not even looking at that yet because, to be honest, it's still a week away. And there's a lot can change between now and then. I'm not I like getting in early on games like football and things like that. I'll play at the beginning of the week. But in basketball, particularly given the nature of just how things change so quickly from one day to the next in basketball, I prefer to wait. If it costs me a point, well, then cost me a point. But I'm actually looking, I think we'll see what happens with the price. But I'd like to play Golden State in the series against Cleveland. I think this is the best of the 3 Warriors teams. They won it 2 years ago. They will never know for sure, but I believe they would have won it last year had Draymond Green not gotten that suspension. And I think this Golden State team is better than the previous 2 editions. So I think Golden State is going to beat Cleveland, and I think they're going to beat them fairly handily in the finals. I don't think it'll be a 7-game series. And what I might end up doing, because I'm not going to be, look, if the price is $250 or whatever, I'm not going to lay that. I might look for a prop bet on them winning in 5, something along those lines, because I think that's a real possibility, and on that I can get a price.
Well, and let me ask you a question. Why would a bettor go in and lay 5, not knowing what the situation's going to be? Well, the 2 things that I mentioned, they got a fatigue factor. You got an extra trip up to Boston because they blew game 3, and they almost blew game 4. I mean, they can't. Kyrie Irving saved their butt last night with an amazing performance.
He was great.
That's a guy you don't want to stand in front of and try to guard. My God, he's amazing. But what happens if a Love or an Irving twists an ankle and they can't play in game 1?
Oh, that's true.
That's why someone goes in and buys a price, because nothing, relatively speaking, I mean, a player can get hurt even when they're practicing or just at home, cutting watermelons or something, whatever. We've seen that before where a home injury. But on the court, they're going to have to play these 2 games, which they just played the one. Irving did twist his ankle, and it looked bad at the time it happened.
Yeah.
Now he's going to go up to Boston. What happens if it happens again? He's out. Now you got a price. The price isn't going to be 7 if he's not playing or something.
No, that's for sure.
Play. So this is why people take advanced numbers. You could take advanced numbers with the idea of buying it back later, getting off your bet with maybe a little bit of juice to pay, or potentially setting up a side and a middle. So that's why people do stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm not arguing against it. The other thing, by the way, it's not widely available right now. I'm only seeing a few books who have that game up, and in fact, that series up. So we'll see what happens when the Vegas books. I don't think any of the Vegas books have it up right now.
No, I only see it right now. The series prices at Chris.
Yeah,
that's the only place. But I do see the line on the first game at
5 Dimes has that.
5 Dimes in the Greek. I think the Greek might have it as well. I'm not sure though. Maybe not.
So, and even one of the things in our business is we can't really give out games until they're widely available, because if you want to piss off a customer, give him a game that he can't get, and then I mean they just, believe me, we know this, haven't been in the business for well, you've been in the business for 40 something years, and I've been in it for 30, almost 40 myself. They'd rather have a loser than a game they can't bet. I mean, that really ticks them off. So that's part of the reason I haven't done a whole lot yet, even from a personal standpoint on the series. But that's how I think the series is going to shape out. And that's the bet I will most likely make if I can't get the right price in the Warriors in the series is Warriors in 5. And we'll take an option there because I want to try and get value.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question just to stay in basketball for a second. What is going on with Klay Thompson? the part of the
He's
Splash
in the slump.
Brothers.
And this is a well-coached basketball team. I know, Kerr's laid up, but Mike Brown is a veteran coach. And I really like what they did last night, or in this last game with Thompson. And that is that he's not shooting it well right now. So what they were doing was running stuff, particularly in the second half, to get him the ball inside. And then he got to the foul line a few times. So that's sharp coaching and game planning within the game in terms of adjustments to try and, the best way to get a shooter out of a slump is to, get him to the foul line where he's comfortable and he starts knocking down free throws. And I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Thompson get hot again.
He's an incredible ball player. He's probably the best of the three guys, Durant, Curry, and Thompson. I think he's the best defensive player of those three. He definitely can get hot. We've seen this guy score 37 in one quarter, which he's incredible, but he's definitely off his game at the moment. And the funny thing about this, he got 3 stars at that, shooting guys that can get you 30 points a game when they're hot. And you wonder sometimes if they're getting enough minutes, if they feel comfortable with that going forward. But there's a guy that could be the number one player on a lot of teams. And right now, he's not, they don't even mention his name anymore because of Durant having such a great year, and Curry, of course, back to MVP, kind of quality play. So, and that's a situation going forward that's going to be interesting to watch because he is a fantastic player, and he could be the number one player on a lot of teams.
Let's look at a baseball game tonight, Jim. Cardinals are playing the Dodgers. A thriller last night, a long thriller. Went to 13 innings. Dodgers winning on what amounts to a misplay. I mean, 2 outs, they get a guy on, and the next guy up for the Dodgers hits the ball down in the right field corner. And, you got to know how to play. I know it's not the home park with Stephen Piscotty, but, he's played there before. And besides which, this is what scouting reports and pregame prep is for. You got to know how to play that wall in Dodger Stadium. And you have to kind of smother it. Otherwise, the ball gets in the corner and it'll start bouncing around out there. And that's exactly what happened. Dodgers end up scoring the winning run on a play which the winning run should never have scored. It's just as simple as that. So that's a nice win for the Dodgers. Good matchup tonight. Mike Leake and the often injured but very effective when he's healthy, Rich Hill. Leake's having a great year. He's 4-2, terrific earned run average. He's given up 2 runs or less in 7 of his 8 starts, leads the NL in ERA. He's got a whip of less than 1. He has been fantastic. But Rich Hill, the problem with Rich Hill is he can't stay healthy. He's continually got some kind of a problem, and it's been blisters this year. But boy, when he's out there and okay to go, he is a nasty pitcher with all that breaking stuff that he's got. You would think that this will be a fairly low-scoring game.
Oh, I definitely feel like, head-to-head, the under is 12-5. And coming off last night, you look at 2 tired teams. And I do think with the way Leake has been pitching, he's Arizona State guy, up and down career, but he's done incredibly lately, like you mentioned. The Cardinals have been struggling a little bit lately, but on the road.
And they don't hit lefties either.
Right, and last night was the first loss they've had in their last 10 road outings. So yeah. It's they're pretty good road performance. I agree totally. It's an underplay for me or nothing.
A couple of notes, by the way. John Creighton supplies us with good stats. Cardinals are 37-17 when facing a starter with a whip greater than 1.3. That's a little screwy on Hill because he's had very few innings this year, so I can't really put much into that stat. They've actually been an over team on the road against winning teams, 42-21-2. But again, they're facing a pretty good guy in this game. The Dodgers are 5-1 in their last 6, and this is the 6th game of a 10-game homestand. Number 6 in runs, number 2 in on-base percentage, number 1 in team ERA. 63-26 at home, 46-15 at home versus righties. And you mentioned this one, Jim. When these teams have met the last 17 games, the under has gotten there 12 of the 17 times. Looking at the betting line on that game right now, the under money has come in. Pinnacle opened this game 7.5 under, 7.5 with the over juiced, and now it's 7 with the over juiced. So, it's kind of tough that they don't make it easy. 6 runs or less to win the bet, but at least you'll get even money on that. So I can see where that makes some sense. And it's actually is this right? Boy, this is a big difference here between Pinnacle and Grandy. Grandy's a sharp book. They've got it at 7.5. They've got the under -130, but they have not gotten off the 7.5. Whereas most of the other books I'm looking at have gone to 7. Grandy's holding at 7.5, and they're juicing it. What do you think about that, Jim?
Well, I'm looking at the Greek. They got 7.5 under 25. So if you look at 7.5 under 25 or 7 over 21, which is what we're looking at Chris and Pinnacle, I'm not too sure there's much of a difference in that price.
No, not really. And actually, locally, CG's at 7.5 under 25. Westgate 7.5 under 25. And Stations, which is a square house, they get more public action there. They get a ton of money, because they've got, for those who aren't aware, Stations has some very, very popular local spots all over town. So they get a tremendous amount of local volume. And they're 7.5. They're holding with the under -130. So 7.5 is the most popular number. Pinnacle actually is the one that's made the move. They've gone to 7 with the over favored. And I do respect Penny's moves. So I think that plays to the under. If you're looking to see, if you're basing it on what the market is doing, the under would probably be the play.
I would have felt a whole lot better with the 7.5, but
yeah,
but an early game, Dave, interesting game, Minnesota at Baltimore, Berrios against Tillman. Chris opened at 137, went down to 105 before tip-off or first pitch, and pretty much the same trend with Pinnacle, 120 down to 108.
Yep, and the money looks like
Berrios is, the money came in on Berrios in Minnesota. Minnesota's been playing pretty well.
They are playing well, and this kid,
they're up 4-0 in the second inning. Which
Berrios is he flopped miserably last year in his first real go around, and in watching him last year, I thought he showed fear. He just was not going. He was not aggressive at all. He was nibbling like crazy, and falling behind hitters. And I don't care who you are, you fall behind hitters in the majors, you're going to have trouble. And this year's a little more experienced Berrios, and it is Berrios, by the way. That's how he pronounces it. This kid is going after guys. I mean, he's a much different pitcher now than he was last year, and he's going to be the ace on that Minnesota staff. He's only had a couple of starts since being promoted from Rochester. He's already looking like the ace of the staff, and he will be their number one starter moving forward. I'm telling you what, the Twins, they can hit. And if their pitching holds up, if Santana keeps pitching like the way he's been pitching, which is, I'm surprised at how long this run has been for him. He's generally not that consistent. If this is going to be all year from Santana, that's a pretty good 1-2 punch. I'm going to tell you, this team could hang around the race.
Well, they certainly are now. I mean, get the shutout from Santana last night, and this. How did you say it? Proper pronunciation? Berrios.
Yeah,
Berrios.
The accents on the second syllable.
Okay, well, I have language lessons to take.
Well, I thought it was Berrios too until I heard the Twins announcers.
Okay.
And I'll go by them.
Well, I think you're probably right. That's a good advantage right there. He's doing very well right now, and they're pounding on Tillman, which is kind of normal. Tillman's had his ups and downs.
He's had control. Since he's come off the DL, he's had control problems, and to me, it's when I handicap baseball, one thing I'll give you an example of what I do in baseball. We're going a little bit longer than usual today, but I think this is important. Rockies are getting a lot of play tonight against the Phillies, and I can't disagree with that because the Phillies have been absolutely horrible. And Jeremy Hellickson, they've been winning his starts at home, but he hasn't pitched well. But I didn't play it, and the reason I didn't play it is very simple. I'm looking at Tyler Chatwood, and I know he's got the good road splits, but he's been walking a lot of guys lately, and for the season, his 9-inning walk rate is now 4.6. And good pitching is unsustainable when you're walking close to 5 guys per 9 innings. You cannot survive in the major leagues with that kind of control. Even Nolan Ryan was nothing more than a 500. He was spectacular, but he was nothing more than a 500 pitcher until he finally learned to throw strikes later in his career. When he was, early in his career, he'd walk 7 and he'd strike out 12 and he'd end up losing the game because you just can't keep walking guys in the majors. So that's why I didn't play that game tonight, because everything's going right for the Rockies and it's going wrong for the Phillies. But besides the fact that the good price is gone, I will not back pitchers almost. I can't say 100% of the time, but almost 100% of the time, I will not back pitchers who have walk rates in excess of 4 per 9 innings. It's just a dangerous road. You put a couple of guys on, it doesn't take much for a big inning to take place.
Now, let me ask you a question on that. And I totally agree with you. And I totally understand what you're saying. But here's a guy, when you look at his splits, now his last game, he had 5 walks and 4 strikeouts, which is that's really bad. But, and he's lost, as far as decision-wise, he's lost 4 of his last 5 games. If he's going to do that, and that's what it seems like the trend has been. He started the season off much better splits on the walks and the strikeouts.
Yes.
But lately, it's sort of evened out, and that's a terrible stat.
Well,
You're
look,
100% right.
If you look at his first 3 starts, he goes 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Two of those were against the Padres and Giants. The Padres swing at everything, so you almost want to throw that out. The Giants were terrible at the start of the season. Since that time, 3-6, he's had 6 starts where he's had 12, 16, 19, 22 walks, and 15, 23, 25 strikeouts.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And look what's happened. He's lost 4 of the last 5. So I know he's got the good home road splits, but his last 2 road starts were both losses. He did not pitch well in either one of them, and one of them was at San Diego. And when you get knocked around by the Padres, that's a really bad game. And the other one was against the Twins. I think that home road stuff was a little fluky with him. He's not that good a pitcher, and for some reason he just got ridiculously hot on the road last year and started off this year okay. But on the road this year, he's 0-1, 0-2. He's 1-3 on the road this year. So, I think 2016 was a bit of a fluke with Chatwood. And if he's going to keep walking guys, he's not going to win baseball games. So, to me, I'm not playing against the Rockies. They're just way too hot right now. And the Phillies, I think, are on like a 4-19 run.
They're absolutely horrible. But listen to this. Now, this is the reason I didn't bet the Rockies. We each had different reasons. And I think first of all, Hellickson.
By the way, I won with the Rockies last night, and I like to come back with teams I won on, but I'm not doing it here. Hellickson
has a great under record. Most of his games have gone under tremendously. 5, 6, 6-2 under with 1 push. He hasn't given up. He's 1 game where he gave up 6 earned runs in 4 innings. Most of the time, he doesn't walk many people. He also doesn't strike out very many.
Sure, he doesn't strike out anybody.
So, he gets outs, and he's been winning. The team has been. This is the kind of guy a team sometimes depends on to break streaks. I mean, when you look at this kid's record at home, the team record is 4-0. His ERA is 2.38. His WHIP is .88. Which is excellent.
In that ballpark, especially.
Yeah, and so you have a guy here, and he's 8-1 on the year in his team record. So you got a guy every time he goes to the mound, the team feels some confidence in the fact that this kid has been able to produce some winners for them.
Yeah,
So that could break the streak. That's one of the reasons that kept me off playing the
Rockies.
Colorado Rockies, especially as the odds makers opened the game. Pinnacle opened the game Hellickson favored by 104, and it went to 122 the other side.
All public though. That's big square action. It was last night too, and the squares won, and I was one of those squares last night. But I don't like it here. By the way, on Hellickson, he's really tough to handicap because from a sabermetric standpoint, he's terrible because he doesn't have any strikeouts. His strikeout rate, I think, his strikeout rate, I believe, is the worst of any starting pitcher in baseball this year. It's 3.62, which is just awful. But some good things are happening. Batting average on balls in play is 205. The walk rate is very low. It would seem as though there's going to be a regression for Hellickson, but I'm going to wait for it to take place. I don't like guessing when it's going to take place. Let me see a bad start from him, and then maybe it'll be time to go against him. But until that time,
let me add one thing in here. The people listening to this, I hope we didn't bore you to death, but at least you learn one thing. When you learn one thing, we are digging deep into these games when we play them.
Yes.
And the stuff that Dave just threw at you with the sabermetrics and the overall general conversation, this isn't what the average guy does. And of course, the average guy doesn't win.
That's right.
So this is what you have to do to beat this game, because the odds makers and the bookmakers are, guess what, folks? They are not dumb. So it's hard to beat them at their game unless you outwork them.
Yep, and outworking them pays off. I'm going real well right now. And by the way, I'll throw this in again just in case anybody missed it. I did have the winner in the Preakness. So, it's been, and so did Hammer and Hank. And we both had it available at jimfeist.com. So congratulations to anybody who jumped on and took that number 2 horse with a great price. Boy, that'll pad the bankroll in a hurry. Tonight, I've got 2 games. One's a runs line play. One's a total. I'm not going to tell you not to bet the total. I can tell you this. You should have gotten it early. The good number's long gone on that. And I would say buy the runs line play and don't buy the total, because you'd be getting the worst of it on the total. But buy that runs line play for $25. It's got a really good chance to win tonight. Also, if you want to get free plays every day, we have those on a recorded message at 888-294-1970.
You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Jim Feist Sports. And you can also get free plays daily if you'd like. Just text GAME, GAME, to 25827.
Yeah, this was a fairly long program today, but hopefully you like the information. And we'll do it again tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe we'll find something else we can talk at length about. So thanks for joining Jim Feist and myself, Dave Koch, and we'll see you tomorrow with another edition of Proline Daily from Las Vegas.